friend. Welcome to the Fruitful Fertility Podcast. Do you want to better understand your body so you can get pregnant naturally? Do you find yourself up late at night Googling how to ovulate on your own or natural fertility tips? Do you feel lost on what your next step should be? Hey, I'm Tori, a registered nurse, Christian fertility coach, and your new TTC BFF. When I started my fertility practice, I realized how much the modern medical system was missing when it came to supporting women trying to get pregnant. I knew God had called me to this space to bridge that gap and provide more natural fertility support and education. With time and a little trial and error, I found a foundational way to assess infertility cases and get better results. In this podcast, you will finally understand how your body and fertility work, support to stay off that emotional roller coaster, and a proven strategy to improve ovulation and increase your fertility naturally. If you're ready to get started, drop those ovulation sticks and grab a pen because, girl, you look fertile to me. Today, we are going to cover a topic that a lot of you have asked about. This is probably something you've typed into Google lots and lots of times, but it is how to balance your hormones. Because often we think our fertility, we're not getting pregnant, we need to improve our fertility, all because we have imbalanced hormones. And sometimes that's true. A quick Google search told me that actually 80% of women deal with hormonal imbalances at some point in their life. I don't know where that statistic came from, but I believe it because I know that almost everybody listening to this, including myself, has dealt with a hormone imbalance of some sort at some time. So we're going to tackle how to understand them and what to do about it. So I'm going to break this down into really simple terms so you can walk away today knowing what you can focus on to balance your hormones and improve your fertility. So number one, first and foremost, you need to understand that imbalanced hormones are a symptom and not the root. Hear me again. Your low progesterone, your estrogen dominance is not the root cause of why you can't get pregnant. It is a symptom of something going on in your body. So typically, if we go to the doctor, they will test our hormones. They'll say, okay, your progesterone is low, and they'll give you a progesterone cream or suppository or something like that to go on. Totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. But what we're doing is putting a Band-Aid on the hormone imbalance. We're not really understanding why they're imbalanced in the first place. And so we want to look a little bit deeper than that. We also need to understand that when we test our hormones, like when we go have our labs drawn, that is just a snapshot in time. You could have your blood drawn on cycle day 7 this month and then cycle day 7 the next month, and they could be completely different. You could get completely different numbers. So I don't want you to be overly attached to your labs that you got drawn that one time. And this is another reason I really like the Aneto, because it measures your estrogen, your progesterone, or the PDG, which is a metabolite of progesterone. It measures your LH and FSH, and you can do all this from home without having to go to the doctor and get stuck with a needle, which is really nice bonus. But why I really like it is because we can see it every month over time. We can see, okay, is this common? Is my estrogen staying in about the same place? Is my progesterone low consistently? And that comparison gives you way more accurate information than just that one lab draw that one time. So keep that in mind. If you want to grab your own Aneto, I'm going to put the link in the show notes. You can use my code TORI15 to get you 15% off. I highly recommend this because, again, you can look at your hormones on a more accurate scale. So first and foremost, imbalanced hormones are a symptom, not the root. And if you want a more accurate representation of your hormones, you need to check them. You need to compare them month to month, not just get blood drawn once a year and use those numbers. Okay. So the next thing we need to do, there's a lot of understanding going on in this episode, but I promise I'm going to give you some tactical steps to take too. But number 2 is to understand the foundation that your hormones are built on. So again, if they are a symptom of something deeper, we have to understand where that symptom's coming from, what's off that's causing that symptom. And if I could dwindle it down to 2 very simple things and keep it really streamlined for you, I would tell you that it's blood sugar regulation and cortisol regulation. So blood sugars. if our body is dealing with blood sugars that are going up, 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 and down, 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 and up, 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 and down, 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 that is creating inflammation in the body. It's also spiking cortisol because our body's trying to regulate those blood sugars. And this is going to suck a lot of your minerals, a lot of your body's energy to try to balance those blood sugars. And so then we see depleted minerals, we see fatigue, we see mood swings, we see a lot of things that go along with those imbalanced blood sugars, but those consistent imbalanced blood sugars definitely play a role in our fertility and hormone status. Same with cortisol. So our cortisol is not a bad thing. And cortisol regulation, I feel like it's all the rage right now on social media. Like people talking about their cortisol base and how they took this one supplement and that changed everything, which is all good and well. I'm not saying you can't take that supplement if you want to, but again, there's a much bigger picture at play than social media makes it look like. And just because it's the thing to talk about right now. But I want you to look at it like, okay, cortisol is what helps our body manage stress, right? So we release cortisol when our body is trying to adapt to whatever's going on. This could be emotional, like stress at work. It could be physical, like imbalanced blood sugars. But when our cortisol is spiking, that is kind of stealing, again, it's really what's pushing our progesterone down. And when we push our progesterone down, we push our estrogen up. So we want our cortisol to still be working. We don't want no cortisol. We just don't want to spike it unnecessarily. And we do that without even realizing it just because of the world we live in today. It's 2025. We have unhealthy foods. We have artificial lights. We have, name all the things, pollution, all the things that can spike our body's cortisol and while it's trying to regulate. So we want to be aware of that and our blood sugars. So how do we do that? Like, okay, Tori, got it. I understand it's a symptom, not the root. I understand that it is built on blood sugars and it is built on cortisol regulation. Now, to balance them, that is what everything we talk about on this podcast is about. Everything. Listen to any episode of this podcast and you'll find answers. But if I could, again, try to break this down into very simple terms so you can walk away with action to take today, I would say you need to implement healthy routines for those two things. You need to start implementing some kind of daily routine to help regulate your blood sugar and to help regulate your cortisol. So let me give you some really tangible examples. One would be making sure that you have protein-filled meals. When you have 20 to 30 grams of protein at every meal, you're helping your blood sugar stay balanced. When we wake up in the morning and we eat a bagel and drink a sugary coffee, we are just spiking our blood sugar first thing in the morning. There's no protein there. Now, I don't want you to think that bagels are off limits. I'm not saying you can't have bagels. I'm just saying, what protein are you going to pair with that bagel? Because just doing that, I have seen clients that had no period or very irregular periods just focus on protein at every meal and their periods come back and become regular and they were pregnant in 9 months. Is one example I can think of off the top of my head, but I see it work so often. So don't skip on these things that seem really easy or overly simple because they can actually make a huge difference. Another example would be no coffee before breakfast. When we pour caffeine on an empty stomach, we're automatically spiking our cortisol. And depending on what you put in your coffee, probably your blood sugars too. If you're like me, I'm putting cream and I'm putting honey. I'm putting the good stuff in there. I'm not drinking it black, okay? I love myself more than that. So we want to make sure we have protein on our belly before we pour caffeine on it. And we definitely don't want to skip breakfast and just have coffee for breakfast. I was guilty of that for so long. That's when my skin was at its absolute worst. I had acne all over my face. And now looking back, I'm like, oh, maybe it's because I was pouring caffeine and sugar on my stomach first thing in the morning and not eating. I would literally drink coffee until I was nauseous. I'm like, what kind of sense does that make? I don't know. But I want you to make sure that you are eating breakfast before you drink your coffee. Another one you hear me talk about very often is just walking daily. Walking is, I'll continue to call it the powerhouse. It regulates your blood sugars. It helps calm your nervous system. It decreases cortisol. It improves your lymphatic drainage. It's just so powerful. Again, simple, yet so powerful. So get in those walks daily. Start where you can. I usually recommend 10K steps a day, but you know what? If you don't have time to get 10K steps in, start where you are. Get a 10-minute walk in after a meal. that would be fantastic for your blood sugars. So just start where you can. And the next tip I'll give you is to enroll and boost your fertility blueprint. In this course, I have laid out exactly step by step what you need to do to improve your fertility and balance your hormones. I give you a daily checklist. Like, I'm not just throwing information at you about, all the sciencey stuff and all the health science behind why this stuff works. I actually help you implement it, because that's the hardest part. Like, the reading, the researching, we're good at that, but we're not good at implementing what we do. Or I know that I'm not. It's something that I have to work on. I'll research and come up with 20 options and then not take action on any of them. So if you're anything like me, I want to save you from that. I don't want you to have to guess what to do, how to figure out how to implement it. I give you a step-by-step checklist of exactly what to do. No more scrambling on Google and TikTok and Instagram trying to find answers. I have given you the proven plan in a cute little checklist that you can print off and literally just do what's on the checklist. So highly recommend that. That link is below for you as well. Number 2, for how to balance your hormones, is to focus on minerals. Now, this is again where my HTMA bundle comes in really handy, because we can look at your mineral status from your HTMA test. HTMA stands for Hair Tissue Mineral Analysis. So we're literally taking a little bit of your hair. I promise it's just a little bit. We send it off, we test it, and it tells us how your mineral status is doing over the last 3 months. It tells us how your stress levels are, what your thyroid's doing, how your digestion is working, all the things that play into your hormones and if they are balanced or not. So it'll tell us a little bit about your blood sugar regulation, if it's consistently running high or if it's consistently running low. It'll tell me about your nervous system and your current state of stress, which will tell me about your cortisol. So while it doesn't measure cortisol level specifically, it'll show me the root. It'll show me the average of what's going on with you over about a 3-month period, which is another reason why I love HTMA, because it's, again, not a snapshot like blood work. It is a comprehensive overview to compare what's been going on over time, not just what's on that day. And it will help us focus on what minerals you need specifically to get your hormones balanced and working and optimal. So that is a really great option if you're looking to cut through all the fluff. And it doesn't mean you don't have to do the foundations like that are inside Boost Your Fertility Blueprint. You still have to do those, but it gives you a really, what I call a fast-tracked approach, because you know exactly what you need to be focusing on. So that will be linked below in the show notes as well. So let's balance this. Let's recap this really quick. How do I balance my hormones? 1, we're going to understand that imbalanced hormones are a symptom and not the root. We're going to grab the Aneto if we want to look at our hormones over periods of time to get a more accurate result of if they are actually imbalanced. Some people think they have a hormone imbalance and they really don't. So that's a great way to compare and contrast that. Number 3, we're going to understand the foundation our hormones are built on, which are blood sugar regulation and cortisol regulation. And then we're actually going to take the steps to balance them, which means we're going to implement healthy daily routines for those 2 things, for that blood sugar regulation and that cortisol regulation. We're going to do things like eat 20 to 30 grams of protein at every meal. We're going to eat breakfast before we drink our coffee. We're going to walk daily. And then if we need extra support in that step-by-step plan, we're going to enroll and boost your fertility blueprint. And number 2, we're going to balance our minerals. We're going to focus on optimizing our hormones through mineral balancing. And you can do that by getting your minerals tested through an HTMA bundle, which is also linked below. So I know this may or may not have been the answer you were looking for. Sometimes we tend to think like we just want the supplement, we want the quick fix. But really balancing your hormones is looking at your entire body and what you can do to love it, support it, and nourish it. And this is a great place to start. I believe in you. I believe in your body's ability to balance its hormones to get pregnant, and I'm here for you. So keep tuning in here each week. I will see you next time. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If this episode touched your heart or taught you something, I'd be honored if you share it with a friend who could use the information too. And if you want to be the real MVP, then would you also take 30 seconds to tap those 5 stars at the bottom and leave a written review telling me what you're loving? It lights me up to know this podcast is really helping you. Don't forget, you're super cute and super fertile, so meet me back here next week and let's keep chatting and learning together.